Did you know that in some states it is actually banned, forbidden, not allowed by the powers that be to harvest rainwater that falls from the sky? It amazes me in this country how much we allow ourselves to be controlled by seemingly dumb people. We are a nation built off of rebellion. We are a nation built off of liberty and freedom. And we have now gotten to this point where we are so content with our little lives. We are so happy with the breadcrumbs, the morsels that we get, that we don't do anything to stop the little bits of tyranny that just kind of trickle into our system, like harvesting rainwater. And so I think about in these situations, what would I do? And if you guys have watched this channel, you know that I am not above taking a stand. I'm not above telling local government that I'm going to do what I want to do. You don't control what happens on my land, and I'm not going to allow it. Now, there's consequences to that sort of thing. They're going to play their game and do what they can do to try and break you. And then you have to either draw the line and hold the line, or you give in, after a certain amount of time, and you say, okay, I'm going to comply now. Or you dig your feet in the sand and you say, I'm not complying with that. Don't agree with it. I believe it's morally wrong, ethically wrong. I believe it's corrupt, and I believe it gives you a little bit too much control over me. And I believe it requires me to give up rights. And it's so easy to stand on that, guys. If someone is requiring you to give up or surrender a right, just hold the line. That's easy to do. You could go to federal court pretty easily and prove that they're trying to make you give up a civil right, one of your liberties, written down on paper. It's all right there. It's very easy to prove that and say, well, they're trying to make me forfeit this to get something from me. So that's easy to stand on. Things like rainwater, if I was told by any governing power that I could not harvest rainwater, I would see that as a personal attack on me, on my farm, and honestly, probably on my religion as well, because that rainwater, that falling moisture from the heavens, that doesn't come from man. Man didn't create that. That's a natural event that takes place by God's design. So to say, hey, we own the water and you can't touch it, for me, that's easy to stand on as well and say, you're not going to tell me what to do. You can send me fines or do whatever it is you think you're going to do, but I'm going to harvest this rainwater. I'm going to use it. I'm going to feed my animals. I'm going to water my garden. And I draw the line there. So it amazes me to see these communities and in states where they don't allow it to take place, and you see people complying with it, and you see people just saying like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good rule for whatever reason. People are scared to stand up, and people are scared to actually do something. It's easier to just sit on the couch and cry about stuff taking place than it is to get motivated and get up and actually do something about it. And I'm like many of you guys, where it takes me a bit to get up and really get motivated and pick and choose which fight I wanna be involved in. And the biggest thing is it's such an uphill battle. It seems like such an uphill battle because it's you alone generating this thought. But once you get out into community and you realize that there are so many people that also have this thought and the same mindset and the way of thinking, you realize that those people telling you that you cannot harvest rainwater, they are very, very outnumbered, like a lot. But I see it in the comments as well. I see it in these videos where, people have reached out to get into contact with militia in this area, to get into with their patriot groups, to say, hey, I agree with you. I think it is time to be prepared. I think it is time to build community, to be able to take a stand, to not allow these governments, both local, state, federal, who want to circumvent the Constitution. We don't want to let them just do it. We don't want to just sit back and say, it's okay, you can kick us some more. But there's a lot of people out there who are just like, oh, you're going to lose. It's a losing battle. Guys, you lose every battle you don't step into. And anyone who's ever fought before should know that the fight is not over. And it is not predetermined until the very end, when one of you is a victor. The only thing that is a guarantee is that if you give up before the fight, or you are too scared to walk into the fight, you will lose 100% of those fights. So it goes to show a mindset, and it goes to show a mindset in this country right now where people get really pissed off about stuff, but they just aren't pissed off enough to grow a pair to get out and do anything about it. So what we're seeing is a lack of execution. We're seeing a huge lack of organization in every facet of our lives. You know, even in our governments, we let the right and the left form their groups and then tell us all what to do. And many of us, you know, freedom, liberty, like-minded people, we're just kind of like, dude, I don't identify with you creeps, right? And so we stay out of that arena, and unfortunately, staying out of that arena really does hurt us. And a lot of people say voting doesn't matter, it's all rigged. It does. It absolutely does. And not only that, but being involved politically, you know, and even if forming your own group, go and form a group of people with your ideals. We did it here. We formed a group of landowners who are for land rights in this area. So now these right and left people who just care about the right and left, they now have this third opposition they have to worry about. Whereas we will align with people who are going to recognize our rights. We are going to align with people who understand property rights and who do not try to control every facet of our life, where it gets to the point of, oh, you got to tell me before you build a chicken coop, or no, you're not going to harvest rainwater. We're not allowing that anymore. These are the small bits of tyranny that we see in every level of government, because it's what happens when people get power. They get power and then they try to come up with more and more rules that you need to abide by. And then that person lives out their term, and then the next asshole comes in and he works his term and he wants to come up with more and more rules too, because that's what he thinks he's doing to leave his mark, his legacy on the world, is coming up with more and more rules. So every year we have thousands of more rules that are written into laws to control the populace, to control the people. And now we're seeing that it's not even a law that's getting written into place. It's just a wave of the hand. You know, governors saying, hey, lockdown. Hey, you guys need to stay inside your house. Hey, you're non-essential. Whatever that means. Hey, you making money for your family? That's not essential. That doesn't work. So you have to listen to me. And it blows my mind, guys. This entire period of the coronavirus, the lockdown, me and my family, we quarantined ourselves watching it. Many of you guys already know this. We quarantined ourselves watching this virus, just saying, hey, for our own safety, we might want to scale back how much we go out and how much we work and how much we do stuff. But our traveling, our movements, everything we do has nothing to do with a bullshit order given by a governor. It has nothing to do with whether local law enforcement here continues to hand out flyers or put up their little sticky notes telling people, now you're going to be quarantined if you're from out of state, or you need to leave if you're from out of state, or this area is closed to you, blah, blah, blah. We're not listening to any of that. Why? Because we stand up for what is right. We stick to our convictions, and we're not going to be controlled by tyranny. Many people will. Most people will. And that's a huge problem. And it brings me back to, you know, growing up when I was learning about slavery, a young kid, right? This is the mind of a kid trying to process this. When you learned about slavery in history, I always asked myself, why didn't the slaves just band together, you know, and tell the plantation owner, you know, kick rocks, buddy. You know, you see fields full of black people working a white man's land under the rule of slavery. Why didn't these 100 people just go, you know, stomp out the one guy there telling him what's up? Why does that not happen? And I never understood it. I don't even think I have an answer to it now. I think honestly it's just that people just become complacent in their lives, where they just allow it. They just say like, this is it. Yeah, you know, if I fight, I might get hurt, or if I fight, I could get killed. But is that better than living on your knees? Is that better than living in chains? Isn't it better? I don't get it. At my heart, I don't get it. If someone threw chains on me and I'm turning around and looking and I'm seeing 100 people who look like me and I'm seeing 5 people over there, I'm like, hey, we outnumber them. What do you guys say we just, you know, get rid of the masters and go about our business? I mean, I think you could make some pretty good arguments as to why slavery was probably a morally morally bad issue. I mean, just on a human level, to lock someone up in chains and then force them to work all day, feed them minimal, treat them like shit, you know, abuse them. Is that too far off from where we are today? Are we heading in that direction now? Guys, we don't have physical shackles on, but we have so many limitations and shackles in this country, to the point where when the master says, hey, stay home, we all just stay home, and it doesn't even take shackles to keep us there, right? Many people are like, oh, okay, I'm non-essential. I have to stay home. Okay, I'll do that. But you're starting to see these small groups of people, and this is the solution to the problem, right? This is kicking off the chains and, you know, and flipping the bird to the master of the house. You're seeing people going back to work and saying, no, this is my business. I'm going to work. I'm going to open these doors. And of course, local law enforcement, you know, who swore an oath to the Constitution, but unfortunately are just making sure they collect paychecks for their families, you know, self-preservation, because people they don't fall on their swords for other people. You're not going to see it in this country. They just don't do it anymore, right? These people who are there for the safety of the public, they are going to enforce the tyranny. Unfortunately, they're just not our allies. I don't see them as our allies. And before anyone goes crazy about the cop hating, bashing stuff, I don't have a criminal record, guys, and I've only ever had a few run-ins with law enforcement that I thought they were assholes. I've always had positive relationships with law enforcement, but unfortunately, just because I like you on a personal level doesn't mean that I agree with the way that you operate on a professional level. And that connection needs to be made, and it needs to be understood that you might be a good person. But if you're doing the devil's work by going and arresting a woman at a park with her kids, and leaving her kids there, mind you, way to protect and serve. He served the shit out of her on that one. You're not protecting anyone. You're just following orders. You're just a bootlicker. Okay? You have to make these decisions, and it's so ridiculous to watch, because you have law enforcement that all they have to do is stand up and say, hey, we're not enforcing these bullshit laws. We're not going to tell people to stay inside their homes. This is America. We're not going to shut down people's businesses and enforce their bankruptcy. We're not going to do it. You would have the entire community at your back. You would have all of us coming and demanding your job back if they tried to fire you for it. You would have all of us standing behind you saying, we want this guy, we don't want you. But we don't see it. We see the tyrant at the sheriff's level, or the chief of police, saying, well, the governor told us so, and we want to make sure that we collect our paychecks, so we're going to go ahead and do it, right? Well, you also swore an oath to the Constitution, but I guess that one doesn't count, right? The Constitution doesn't pay you, but you got to answer to the master of the house. Yet it seems like the slaves are starting to revolt. So if you're watching this video, if you are a business owner who is sitting at home wishing you could go back to work, go open your doors and go back to work. Go open your doors and let your community come to bat for you. If you are a business owner and you want to stay shut down, then stay shut down. Welcome to America, where you get that freedom of choice. But if your family is hurting, go back to work. Go open your doors. Go do what you need to do to feed your family. Your community has your back.